Hi there, it's Tony Buck again. How you doing? What did I do this time? I created a garden cage. I'm using it to protect my small plantings. As you can see, it's about 3 feet high and 4 foot square. And look, this side lifts up. I made it really to go on a planter, so that on a raised bed, so you can get to both sides. I'm protecting my young seedlings here from squirrels mainly, and rabbits, of course. And this might also protect your food from squirrels and groundhogs later on. So you could put this over a growing tomato, cucumber plants, things like that. As you can see, both sides lift up for easy access. It's going to cost you about $20 in plastic tube and fittings, and at the end of this video there's a list of what you'll need, and later on of course I'll show you how to make it. Stick with me for a second. As you can see, it's quite flexible. It's easy to make, but you do need to be a little bit skilled. It takes a little time tying the wire on with ties and cutting the wire. You know how a nuisance chicken wire is to work with. But as you can see, it's quite flexible. You can kick it into position, and then you could bungee cord these corners or put some wire ties on if you thought the groundhog or squirrel was a bit too persistent. And you could also put wire ties on the floor to push that crossbar. I'd put a crossbar on the side now if I built it again. But anyway, coming up is how to build it. Hope it could be of use to you. Take a look at this. Here we go. Here's the parts. There's 6 90s per door. There's 2 T's per door. You know, things like that. Here's the plastic pipe. It's 1/2 inch PVC. That's what you need to get. You're going to glue the whole thing together. Cut it to size. As I say, mine was about 4 foot by 4 foot by 3 feet high, which meant that I could use 3 foot wide chicken wire. So all you do is you buy the right cement. It's in the plumbing section. You put it around the end. If the ends are hard to push in, you should put a bit of sandpaper around the end just to clean it off so it goes in easier. I'm a bit brutal here. I'm just kind of pushing them in, and then you can just bang it, boink, if you get soon enough, and the glue helps it to go in. You can put this whole thing together without gluing it to begin with, just to make sure you got your sizes right. I would recommend that if you're not used to it. Now look what I'm doing here. Some of these things have to be at 90 degrees to each other to make it work. You've got to watch that. That's why I would recommend putting the whole thing together first without glue and marking on the fitting and on the pipe where everything has to go, you know, so that you get your 90s right and your positioning right. Because as you can see there, I'm keeping that 90 on a flat surface back there by the chop saw, and I'm turning that one at 90 to that because that's the way it's going to work later on. This is something you can watch the video a couple of times and you can learn how to do that. Here's the side ready to go. 2 90s at the top and a T in the middle to create the cross brace. And look, I've made, although this is 3 feet high, I've made a 4 foot pipe because I'm going to stick 1 foot in the ground. But I'm not recommending that right now. I think what we'll do is we'll bring a bar across the ground, and that'll be easier to put it in position. I'm using the chop saw to cut mine because I have a chop saw. But listen, if you don't have a chop saw, don't go out and buy one. Use a regular saw. But do anchor this down properly with using clamps, because it's hard to saw holding it like this guy is. But as you can see, it's very easy to cut. You can use a hacksaw as well. Here I am putting the door together, and just final door. I've got the 90s on there, pretty easy, both in the same direction. Pop it on there. You've got a few seconds. You don't have you have like 30-40 seconds really to put that on there. That glue dries really fast. Here we are in the garden. I've put the 2 sides together with the crossbar, and I've turned it upside down. And the reason for that is I'm marking where my points are in the earth, where I'm going to push this thing into the ground. Okay, now I'm not recommending that now because I've realized in talking to you on the video that we could put a crossbar at 3 feet across the bottom of this side and just sit it on the ground. I like that because you could move it around to other positions if there was something you wanted to protect, right? So, you know, you can see what I'm doing, but as I say, instead of sticking it into the ground, and here I am, I haven't glued the whole thing together. I've glued the sides but not the crossbar. That's really helpful in lining things up. So I've made my marks on the ground, and I'm going to push this into the ground. Like I say, don't do that. Put a crossbar at 3 feet and just sit it on the ground. And you can wire it with stakes to the ground, and that'll be easier. You can move it around then, and you won't have to get into all this measuring business. And actually, it makes it more flexible. If your door is a little bit too big, you can always push the side out. Because this stuff's really nice to work with, I think. It's one of the greatest use of plastic pipe there is, other than plumbing, is to build structures for the garden. So here we are. Look, I've put the crossbar in now. And here's the door. This is what the door is going to look like. It's going to go on there. This whole thing gets the chicken wire, and it goes on there. I'm just checking for size here. And it's going to hinge. If you like, I'm going to use wire hinges on there. It's going to go up like that so I can get into it. Okay, I'm just checking for size here, make sure everything's square. I don't know if you know how to do a square, but if you measure the diagonal, they should be equal. If the diagonal's not equal, within ½ inch for something like this, then you need to reposition things. This one's good, he says, so let's keep moving. Okay, chicken wire is hard to work with. It always wants to bounce back, so I've got my feet on it and I'm pulling it upwards. I'm using my feet to kind of flatten it, you know, just so it doesn't roll. You could do that on the path too, but this is how I've chosen to do it. It's raining a bit, so I've got the camera inside the garage door. Here's some wire ties I made just from basic electrical wire. You can use that. I've put them on there. I'm cheap. I got electrical wire sitting around, so why not put it on there? And this is 3 feet high, so this is 3-foot chicken wire. Just rolling it out. There's another one there. Now I'm going to clip. Pull it. Don't pull it too tight because you can distort this plastic. Just get, you know, just pull it tight enough and put it on there. Then I'm using tin snips. There's a twisted part of the chicken wire. That's the best place to cut. Otherwise, the wire tends to bend and not cut too well. So I've clipped that all the way down, and I've given myself a little bit extra, maybe an inch, so I can bend it around the pipe and you know, make it a little stronger, maybe sort of create some pointed spots where it would annoy animals who are trying to nose their way in there. Listen, what about some plastic ties? These things are so cheap now from the dollar store or from a discount tool store. I started using, actually I used them all over the place after that. Those metal ones were too hard to work with. So here I am, just bending use gloves to do this. I've got kryptonite hands because I work with this stuff all the time, but you don't have that. So use gloves to bend over those pointed wire bits like that all the way around, which you've given yourself a little extra on. Here's my hinges. I've hinged this door to the central post, and what is a hinge? It's a wire. It's just a piece of electrical wire bent over. That's a little tight. Don't do it quite so tight because you're going to need to get another one. Here's my close up on the sides there. That crossbar, I couldn't find a 90 with a T on it, so that's why the crossbar is no special position. There again, there's another one of those. There's 3 wire hinges up there. Here it is finished. All right, and you know, you saw at the beginning how it was finished, and coming up is the list of parts. Good luck as usual, and I hope you enjoy doing it.